Peace. What's going on, everybody? I know it's late. Coffee time, episode 38. Uh, just wanted to have a little quick discussion this morning. Actually, before I head back in the crib, because I ain't working today. But like I said, coffee time, episode 38. Just wanted to have this quick discussion in reference to Eric Adams, mayor of New York City, being indicted. And as of right now, the indictment is still sealed, so it'll be unsealed this morning. So maybe later, or later this afternoon, if I can get my hands on a copy of the indictment, actually, because a lot of that stuff comes online so fast now, you can get a copy of the indictment. And maybe we'll discuss it a little later, and we'll talk about the indictment. Discuss it. Eric Adams is a very interesting individual. For those that don't know, Dr. Short and myself, we did a show a while back ago talking about Eric's arc. You guys go into the channel, you can see what Dr. Short and I discussed about Eric's arc and how he was dealing with the illegals, the migrants, the immigrants, however you want to say it, in New York City. But Eric Adams is an interesting situation. The reason why I say that is because Eric Adams was in law enforcement for all these years, and Eric Adams, his story, if you look at his rise was not known. Like a lot of these politicians come from out of nowhere. They're not in the public eye. Eric Adams has been in the public eye since he stepped on the scene as a police officer, as someone who has always been a voice, I guess, for law enforcement doing it the right way. But anyway, one of the things that Eric Adams did, you guys, is Eric Adams, which a lot of these sanctuary cities do. See, and this is the craziest thing about these sanctuary cities. These sanctuary cities, they say 1 minute that they can handle these illegals, and people want to say migrants. I'm going to say illegals. They say they can handle these illegals, and they get all this money from the federal government to handle these illegals, and then realize they can't cover the order. So then when they realize they can't cover the order and their constituents in their city have a problem with it, then they want to complain or whatever. But what Eric Adams did is that Eric Adams started complaining to his party, the Democratic Party. And it's kind of ironic, and people may not agree with me, but that's when all his trouble began. His whole administration's been under investigation. We're talking about commissioners, all these officials. Actually, I had just posted something before where one of his acting commissioners' house just got raided. So we know that these people get vetted first before they even get hired. They're under a lot of scrutiny, and it's just amazing how everybody in his administration have been under a lot of scrutiny. So now he's under. He came out yesterday really defiant, saying the charge is false, and he's innocent until proven guilty. But I find it ironic that he's been under investigation since he started complaining to the federal government about the illegals, the same illegals that have been destroying his city. He wasn't saying that when he was getting the money and everything was all good, but when those constituents started talking about it and the crime and the situation in them subways in New York, and he started complaining, that's when all this stuff began. So once the indictment get unsealed, like I said, we'll probably talk about it. I got some things I got to do later, but we'll probably do it a little later if we have the time. And I know some other brothers that create good content to do it. So we need to look at this, man. One of the things that we tend to not realize is for some people, and this is just really how they move, if you're not being used, you're not being useful. If you're not being used, you're not useful. Yesterday during our broadcast with Pat Talk, I called Eric Adams a useful idiot. And it's ironic that AOC and Hakeem Jeffries is both representing New York City. AOC actually called for Eric Adams to resign. Baby Nancy Pelosi, that's her new name. Dr. Short calls Kamala Harris Obama 2.0. I call AOC Baby Nancy. Because if you realize what's going on, you'll see how AOC is starting to mimic Nancy Pelosi and how she's the new Nancy Pelosi on the scene. She wasn't always that way, and she wasn't good anyway when she was the way she was, but she done really sold people out. But anyway, why would she ask or request that AOC? Why would AOC ask that Eric Adams resign prior to this indictment being unsealed? Very interesting. Just take a look at that, and we'll discuss it a little later. But until then, I just wanted to come on real quick and discuss it and give you my perspective. I just find it ironic that he got indicted after he started saying something about the illegals. You guys have a good one. I'll talk to y'all a little later.